Hey, man, what's going on?
Buddy. Hey, yeah.
Oh, no hurry. I've got my spotlight on. We got my stage spotlight.
Well, good evening, everyone, joining us for an evening. You're doing okay tonight out in the real world? Okay, so are you all ready to go, Danny?
Just give me 1 minute. You can do the intro and stuff. Dante. Right, I'm going on live in a minute. Don't let me hear you in the back of that thing. All right? Right. Wherever you are, shut the doors and all of that caper. It's like talking to the backstage staff in a theatre, isn't it? Quiet, please. Did you know that our floor manager on Red Dwarf was famous for saying those exact words? And if I'll do it tonight, I'll guarantee you. And it's quiet, please. We all do that impersonation.
Well, it's all perfect, Danny.
Extraordinary.
Well, I remember that from the Smeg Ups videos. Yeah, I used to love that on the Smeg Up videos. Okay, but we are live. We're all live, ready to go. So, hello.
Yeah.
I'm Ashley. I'm the host for this evening. So tonight is the first of a series of live evenings with the lovely Danny John-Jules. Tonight it is all about Danny's early life, his career, his music work and his theatre work. And then next Sunday, 8 o'clock, is the next stage in this. And it's Strictly Speaking with Danny John-Jules. Okay, so are you all ready, Danny?
I am indeed, sir.
Good. I'm loving the outfit, making me look a bit underdressed, but I had nothing. I expected nothing less.
Well, you know what? That's why I'm in show business and you're not.
I'm trying, at least give me an opportunity.
Way, of course, but you know what I mean, don't you?
Yeah, loving it, sir.
Shin busters.
And you're giving me a good run for my money with your collection there. Love your Batman.
You good?
Yeah, all good.
See the old Batman? Have you seen him? Yeah.
Yeah. All loving it.
Lovely.
Good sir. Okay, so So the first thing I want to talk about really was how you got into all the acting. Oh, what we got there?
How you got into what?
How you got into all the acting and performing? What's your starting block to move forward?
Yeah, I was just walking down the street in Labyrinth Grove in 1974, and we bumped into one of the local sort of community workers, a guy called Pat Smythe, and he was taking a director around Labyrinth Grove looking for locations to do this film for Scotland Yard about crime prevention, about these 7 delinquents running around Notting Hill getting in trouble. And I was walking down the road with a guy called Mark Gregor, and we bumped into him just to be in the right place at the right time. And the next thing, we were doing a film called 7 Green Bottles. And that was my first foray into loveydom, and but it wasn't even at that point something that I'd thought of as a career. I mean, that was just it just took some time up during the summer holidays, if you know what I mean. Something to do during the summer holidays other than going to the adventure playground. And so, after I finished that, I just went back to school and carried on with my normal everyday school life. And then when I left school, I did 4 what they would call sort of ordinary jobs. And I followed my mate to a church hall one night, saying that, there's this new sort of club going on up the road. Some guys started some club. And it just so happened that it was a drama group. And I kept going and he never. And the rest is history.
But was it drama that you really had a passion for at the time, or how did you move into singing and dancing?
Well, no, I mean, I'd never done any kind of singing and dancing or any of that stuff, I didn't realise that I liked musical theatre until I was in it for about 40 years, and I thought back on it and thought, all the films that I realised I liked were all musicals or, sort of, the typical sort of blockbuster children's films, you know, with all those strange characters, you know. I kind of like those strange characters, you know, like Witchy Poo, you know, like the Witch and the Wizard of Oz. I like those kind of characters. But what happened was, you know, I ended up, I had a school teacher called Mr. Power. He was a PE teacher. Now, well, funny enough, the most famous PE teacher in our school was, in fact, Bob Wilson, the Arsenal goalkeeper, who, ironically, I now am a supporter of his foundation, the Willow Foundation, which is a cancer organisation, you know, for his daughter that passed away. And pretty much every single football manager supports that charity. And it's just ironic that he used to be a PE teacher at my school. That you
so
know,
it's a small world, it really is.
45 years later, you know, I'm standing in a room with him supporting his charity. It's just quite strange. But anyway, my hero at the time was Mr. Power, a PE teacher, who I, funny enough, he never used to actually take me for PE. You know, I had Mr. Johnson, who used to play for the Chelsea reserves team. And who was my other PE teacher? Terry. Well, he only allowed me to call him Terry about 3 weeks ago, when I actually got an email from him passed on by another mate of mine. But Mr. Power, he used to teach at a club where a lot of the British team used to train. And basically, he started a gymnastics club twice a week at lunchtimes for anybody who was interested. And of course, Mr. Nosy always, you know, pokes his nose around the corner.
Well, it's good to try new things.
Sorry?
It's good to try the new things and experiment.
Well, exactly. You know, so, and you know, when you're talking about giving up 2 lunchtimes out of 5 a week, you got to really want to do this stuff, right? So I'm thinking twice a week. But, you know, I was always into, you know, the physical side of things rather than the theoretical, hence me leaving school with no qualifications. So anything that was physical, you could get my attention. So what he did, he said, once we started doing the 2 days a week, he then said, whoever gets good enough, I'll take them to the club with me, you know, twice a week. So, of course, that was like, you know, giving a cat a bone, you know. He was like, whoosh, I'm in there, right? You know, so you couldn't do this nowadays, you know. You couldn't, after school, jump into the PE teacher's little Mini and let him drive you off to Mornington Crescent from Medway Road and go and do a gymnastics session. You could never do that today. But, you know, in those days, only 2 of us got to go to the club. That was me and a tiny little white kid called Leslie. And we were the only 2 who stuck at it. And that was the beginning, really, of my dance career, though I didn't know it at the time. Because if you look at gymnastics, it's just pretty much the same as dance. It's just dance is a little bit more elegant. But, you know, when you see a dancer who's got a gymnastics background, it's the most phenomenal thing you'll ever see. I can tell you 2 off the top of my head. A guy called Paul Tompkinson, who was in Song and Dance, and a guy called Luke Baxter, who was in Cats. Both were trained at the Royal Ballet, but were both gymnasts, and who took these amazing positions in midair. They would do round off, flick, flick, open back somersaults, swallow somersaults on stage in the middle of a number. And the funny thing is that Luke Baxter actually took over from Paul Tompkinson in Wayne Sleep's musical Song and Dance in the West End, because they were like twins. They were both, you know, these, you know, good-looking blonde guys, same kind of haircut, both excellent gymnasts and both trained at the Royal Ballet. And in fact, Paul Tompkinson did the first series of the Lena Zavaroni series on telly. I was in the second series. So, you know, dancers, there's always a 6 degrees separation with people in, you know, in the dance world. So basically the reason that the gymnastics thing was so beneficial was because by the time I did my first dance class, I could already do the splits all around, including box splits. So I had the strength already. And I had, you know, what pretty much gymnastics, the technique is about 50% away from a true dance technique, you know.
Yeah, it's a good natural progression as well, isn't it? So your body's already got the muscle memory starting to form. You
exactly.
Start getting on stage and
So
what kind
and
of dance?
That's why the gymnast Nadia Comaneci was so fantastic, more so than Olga Korbut. Olga Korbut was great, but she would have struggled as a dancer because she's very short, you see. Whereas Nadia Comaneci had the tall, lithe body as well, and the girl who got perfect tens because she had the perfect body. She had she had a great ballet technique, and she had a great gymnastics technique, and that's why I think personally nobody's really come anywhere near her. Simone Biles is incredible as far as, you know, what she does. I mean, Simone's like she's up there. She could tumble with men, you know, that the technique is that great. But I'm talking about the difference and the very, the difference, all the similarities between dance and gymnastics. And Nadia Comaneci, I think, is the perfect example of both.
So which kind of dance did you study to start with? Was it ballet as well, or was it just onto hip dance? Or
well, again, my pastime was, you know, I was a soul boy. I went disco dancing. You know, that's what I did. On our theatre group, we actually were in the world group disco dancing championships at the Hammersmith Palais.
Nice.
And when did I come? I can't remember, but I've got the medal here still from the 1970s. Hold on, excuse my crutch. For all you watching in HD, makes everything better. Right. Oh no, that's not it. What am I talking about? I know where it is. I'm going to find it later. I know exactly where it is. Hold on. So, look at this bad boy. Oh, maybe not. But anyway, I do have it somewhere. But as you can see, this office is not really an office. It's more like a rubbish dump.
So some good stuff in there, though.
Yeah. So basically, there I am at the Hammersmith Palais, where I used to go dancing anyway. It's funny because I used to go there every Thursday night. So it was quite strange to come back, you know, with all these strange people in, and old dears and me mum and me grandmother all sitting there. And I'm thinking, imagine if they were here on a Thursday night, they wouldn't be laughing, I can tell you, you know. But anyway, so, and you know, so I was doing all that stuff. And then you know, at the drama group, they was, you know, they did the dance classes as well. And I took the dance classes. Yes, I stood up there in those tights. And they had all, I mean, it was wonderful to have people teaching there that would come and teach from the Royal Ballet. And then, funny enough, I was in a group called the Second Generation. What was my first job. And when I got to my first job, I realized that one of the first in fact, the first tap dance I ever did, the first tap class, was at that same drama group. And it was a lady called Rosita Yarboy, who was in the Second Generation, which is the group that I first worked for, Dougie Squires. Dougie Squires was a man who worked at the Walls Pork Sausage Factory and then became one of the biggest choreographers in the country, you know, doing all that Seaside Special and all of that stuff. He was, Dougie Squires is the Don, and he gave me my first break in the business. And, you know, so if he ever has a lot of the Second Generation dancers, you know, you had loads of people in the Second Generation, you know, Nigel Lithgow, Mr. Nasty, he was in the Young Generation. There's a famous picture of Nigel Lithgow standing behind Dougie Squires choreographing like this. He was Mr. Nasty from then. But, loads of people I know, most of the people in the business, in musical theatre, and a lot, they went through the second generation. Loads
So
of
what
them.
was? So what was your first role on stage? What was your first?
My first role was in the second generation. That was, I did a summer season in the Isle of Wight for 6 months. And, I walked in there and I goes, my God, it's Jimmy Tarbuck. Jimmy Tarbuck. I mean, this guy was an absolute legend, You've got to remember, this is the 70s.
Yeah.
Huge. And, the first, in fact, the first black guy I ever saw on television was Kenny Lynch. And Kenny Lynch used to do Jimmy Tarbuck's TV show. It's the most extraordinary thing. They were the best of friends. And, Kenny Lynch was also a singer and did, the whole musical thing. I didn't know that. And, to watch Jimmy Tarbuck every night from the wings doing comedy, that's where I got my comedy timing from, because I watched Jimmy Tarbuck for 3 months solid. Every show I stood in the wings and watched his act. And if you don't believe me, ask his daughter, Lisa Tarbuck, because Lisa and her little brother, when they used to come and see their dad, they used to stand in the wings with me. And she swears that she's got a photo of us standing in the wings, because I saw her at a Terence Higgins Trust charity do. But how I met her little brother, I was at the Town and Country Club one night. And I was watching, in fact, in that dressing room that night was Donny, who produced the Red Dwarf single, his cousin, Beverly Knight, and I'm standing in there, right, just chatting away like you do backstage when you're ligging. And this tall white kid come up to me and he said, "Do you remember me?" And I was like, "No." And he goes, "It's Jimmy's son." I went, "Jimmy who?" He went, "Jimmy Tarbuck." And I went, I said, "What? That little kid that I used to throw up in the air?" And he went, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh my dad." I said, "Say hello to your dad." Now, you see, Jimmy Tarbuck, right? He was, the 70s was, as you know, it was a completely different time to now. The problem with today is people think they could say what they used to say in the 70s. Now, "Oh, don't get a chip on your shoulder." I said, no, I didn't have a chip on my shoulder. Because when I was on stage, Jimmy Tarbuck used to do gags. Like when he came on, right, he did the old, the and it comes to start, and Jimmy would walk on with a broom and hand it to the first girl dancer. It was the old, variety gags. It was anything went. Anyway, at the end of the show, I know this is going to all be very un-PC, and everyone's going to go, "Oh," but this is what it is. This is what it was. Ain't no going back. At the end of the show, Jimmy used to do this gag with me, right? Well, he never had my permission, but he was the star, and I wasn't going to argue, right? So he goes to me. He used to go to the audience. "Oh, hey, lovely." He said, "What weather we're having here in the Isle of Wight, eh?" He goes, "Look at Danny. He's only been here 2 weeks." Now, yes, you could look at that. Now, I'm thinking, well, this is the guy that brought Kenny Lynch into television, who brought. He was the only person I knew that was on telly with a black man, and not for 1 second did I think that he was racist. That was a kind of gag in those days, and anybody that knows me, would know that if I thought that he was actually having a go at me, that he, I don't care what show I'm in, I wouldn't be on his stage, So again, and I remember, it's funny, isn't it, how things go? Like 1 minute you're there and everybody adores you and the industry loves you, and the next thing, people were actually, thinking about believing that he was involved in all of that dodgy case that they brought against him, which as it came out, and I remember saying to anybody that would listen, I went, Jimmy Tarbuck, I went, not in a million years. I said the same thing about Cliff Richard, because I'd worked with Cliff as well. You know, when all that stuff, I just was laughing in people's faces. I said, but what was awful about that is that there were people who were letting it slide, who knew that this was all absolute balderdash. And so, you know, that's why you've got to be very careful when you accuse people of stuff, you know, and, you know, because most people know that it's not the fact. And that's why, you know, today everybody would have been rushing to condemn Jimmy Tarbuck.
Yeah.
But if you ask them, why do you say that? You know, and if you said, well, that sounds a bit silly, but, you know, he's championing Kenny Lynch all around the world, you know. And so, you see what I mean? So the interesting thing is that, you know, people would still want to make that a scene rather than, you know, the real problem being the institutionalized stuff, you know. But then people would point fingers at people like Jimmy and Cliff, you know, who, out of the people I've worked with, I trust them more than 99.9% of the people I've met in the industry.
But it's usually the ones that are higher up. They want to try and make them fall, so they eat their targets. Yeah,
I mean, you know, I haven't got a bad word to say about either of them, and I tell you why. Because the next show I was doing, I was doing a show in Hastings, and the producer was Freddie Parrotface Davis. You remember? Sentimental dreams, sentimental melodies. And his trademark was a bowler hat, so he could do no wrong in my eyes. And, you know, the first ever solo number I did on stage was a Sammy Davis Jr. number called Rhythm of Life. And it was choreographed by Bob Fosse, the ledge, the one that everybody wants to work with, you know. And so it was funny that in my life that I would meet Bob Fosse in 1985 in New York at the Minskoff Theatre. Me, him, and a piano player in the studio. And you know, I didn't. You know, I couldn't pull out a conversation like that. Oh, by the way, I did Rhythm of Life. Oh, yeah, I was so overwhelmed. I was so overwhelmed. I couldn't think of anything.
So where did the singing aspect come of your career? We heard about you dancing.
Because in the second generation, you sang while you danced. You know, but even though you were singing to backing tracks, there was a lady called Carol Todd who was Dougie Squire's #1 overseer. That's what I'd call her. She's still around today. And basically, she would walk around while you were doing the routine, even though you were singing to click tracks, you know, pre-recorded singing. She would make sure you were singing for real by literally walking around and bellowing down your eardrum. And that's how I learned to sing and dance. Because if you had two options, sing and dance or let Carol Todd blow your eardrums out. So it was easier to just sing and dance. And I never did have Carol shout down my ear. I was too busy singing. So, you know, and that's how I got the second breath, which is what they call the second breath. You have singers, you have dancers, and you have people that do both. And they're the guys that, you know, that's what they call the second breath lot. That means that they have half of their lung working for the dancing and half working for the singing. Same with the brain, you know.
Yeah.
And that takes, you can't really learn that. You got to learn that on, you know, on stage. It's nearly impossible to learn it otherwise, because, you know, when you're kicking at 100%, you know, you ain't got time to think. You know, you're just whacking it out. So, and again, that was. So anyway, I was telling you a story.
Sorry,
I was doing another summer season, but this time in Hastings, and the White Rock Pavilion. And coming there to do a Sunday concert was Jimmy Tarbuck. So I as I said, I watched every night his act. He's coming. I'm going to watch his show again. So luckily I just went backstage. I did what I did for 3 months in the first show and stand there and you'll just watch his show. And then what happened, he came into the bar afterwards. And, you know, mate, he's a superstar. Danny's a dancer. Yeah. To a penny dancer that he's had behind him all over the world, you know. And Jimmy Tarbuck came up to the bar and bought me a pint of beer. Nice. And so, you know, that's why I said, you know, from when I see a man like that, you know, and then I read what they said about him, I was just like, mate, this is such a load of cobblers. And then with Cliff, right, there's Cliff, there's a guy called Roger Bruce who was our company manager in Time. This is the show that I got while I was doing the first series of Red Dwarf. While I was in Time, I was an understudying the second lead role, along with David Ian, the famous big time West End theatre producer who is now, you know, working with all the likes of Andrew Lloyd Webber, you know, did that TV show Looking for Maria. Well, David was my roommate in Time when we were both, he was understudying Cliff and I was understudying Clinton Derrick's Carol of Dreamgirls fame and all of that stuff, you know. So there we were for a year in this dressing room. And then I auditioned for Red Dwarf and got it. So I used to do Red Dwarf during the day and then run to the theatre at night.
Oh, God, that must be exhausting.
Well, but the guy I was understudying, that was one of the big influences he was the guy that I learned all the screaming from. You know, that's why I was doing it. I was in the show and my chops were well oiled. I was learning to scream off of this crazy singer called Clinton Derrick's Carroll, who's got a twin brother who was the original lead in Dreamgirls. He played the original part in Dreamgirls that Eddie Murphy played in the movie. So, you know, this guy could sing. I mean, both of them, twin brothers. I mean, unbelievable. And so I was understudying them. And that's where I got the whole cat. He used to do that behind the curtain before the show went up, like a vocal warm-up and a physical warm-up. He would do it all at once. You know, I said about the double breath. So his warm-up consisted of taking the piss out of James Brown. And that's when the cat does that mad. That's Clinton Derrick's Carroll, basically, warming up before the show. So, you know, if you're going to steal from the best.
Always.
Yeah. Gladly. And anyway, who thinks that they can go and scream up there anyway? You try it. Now, you know, when you've got someone like that who's telling you how to do it, these are gospel kids, they grew up in the church, you know, wow. So, you know, I was from London. We sang, you know, like, we plough the fields and scatter our, you know, that's a different thing to going, taking my way to the top, you know. It was a different upbringing. You know, they say, oh, you black guys are the same. I goes, no, we ain't, mate. I can't sing like him. I'm too busy singing Amazing Grace. You know, it's different. It's a different world, man. So there's me learning to be black. You know, learning that gospel, get them chops wobbling, you know, instead of, you know, they say in America, you see, when you speak like this and talk like that, that's how you sing. You say, we plough the fields and scatter the good seeds from the ground. You know, in America, they say, pretty mouth can't sing. So when you see the stiff upper lip, that's why our musicals are so boring. Because everybody's sort of, you know, speaking behind the teeth like this. You know, so that's what I had to get out of, because I grew up like that, didn't I? So when I was in Time, that's how I got reborn. You know, I got a bit of gospel church in me bones, and that's what you see in the cat. You know, so
and you can definitely see that. You can definitely see those roots in the performance.
Thank the Lord for the Derrick's Carroll brothers, because you ain't gonna learn that in no workshop, you know, at the BBC, mate. I tell you that. You know,
So
That's
moving on,
something you come to the party with.
then you started working
Yeah,
in
go
the
ahead,
West
sir.
End. So sort of
Yeah.
that your time on the West End. You did Starlight Express and you did Cats.
I did 6 shows in the West End in 10 years. But as I said, you know, from 1987, I bumped into our company manager called Roger Bruce, and he started off as the company manager and then became Cliff's personal assistant. As you know, when you work with someone for a year, you get to, and Cliff just wanted to take him with him, and he was Cliff's personal assistant. And I went to see the Jersey Boys with a friend of mine who works at the Opera House. Got me some tickets for the Jersey Boys, and we went, and Roger was there. We haven't seen you for a long time, and he says, "Oh, we're." So I goes, "What are you up to?" He goes, "Oh, we're doing Wembley Arena." He goes, "Do you want to come?" I goes, "What, Cliff?" He said, and I goes, "He ain't gonna remember me, This is like 25 years later." And he went to me. Oh, he phoned me up and said, "Oh, Cliff's looking forward to meeting you again." And I was like, "Oh, come on, Rog, you say that to everybody, And so I'm thinking, all right, of course, my mum was when, "You ain't going without me." She said, "You ain't going without me." Because, Cliff was hypnotic to them old days. I mean, unbelievable.
Yep. I've got family that will
my mum
was that.
like, "You ain't going without me." So I had to take my mum, right? And, there I am. At the beginning of the show, I would turn and I realized I was sitting next to Don Black, right? Born free as the wind blows, and then the two of us need look no more. All of that. He wrote all of them songs. And his son is a guy called Clive Black. And at the time, he was an A&R man at Polydor Records. And my mate, the same guy that I followed to the drama group, was signed to Polydor. He was the first rapper signed to a major label in the UK.
Wow.
The same guy that I followed to the drama group was the same guy that Clive Black signed to Polydor.
Wow.
And Clive Black is exactly the same guy that signed the Red Dwarf single to EMI. And I'm sitting next to his dad because his dad had written lots of stuff for Cliff and Andrew Lloyd Webber and all the rest of them. So anyway, obviously I knew Don from knowing Clive. So I asked him how Clive was, la, la, la. So anyway, afterwards, we go to the hospitality room. And I'm standing there with me mum, like Johnny No Friends, Yeah. Everybody else in there looked like the Birds, the band. Slightly too old guys with, sort of Mary Quant hairstyles, So, and then if they weren't that, they looked too rich to be in the room. You know what I mean? So me and my mum are standing there like Ike and Tina Turner. And all of a sudden, you could feel the buzz go, whoom, and of course the door opened and Cliff walked in. So I'm standing there looking, thinking, wow, it's still there. And all the people in the VIP are stars nearly. And that's what they say in it. Don't look at the stars. Look to see who the stars are looking at. And so he went to one person, blam, 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 and Roger was on him like a bodyguard, but he obviously. And then he went to a second person, and then he walked directly over to me and my mum with a glass of wine in his hand, came and had a quick chat, took the obligatory photo with me mum and all of that. And I was talking to him. I said, "Man, I mean, this guy did nearly 2.5 hours out there. He was 70 years old." Wow. So I said to him, I goes, "Mate, Cliff, you look like a teenager out there. There's me complaining about a 2-hour show with 8 of us, And so, all of those things, inspired me to think, to do my one-man show. My one-man show is 2 hours long. And I'm thinking, damn, and that's a holiday compared to Cliff. We're all going on a summer holiday. All of that stuff. So then they're going to tell me that this guy did this. I mean, no. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, West End, 10 shows. So you know, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm working with the most amazing people. I'm being directed by people like Simon Callow, you know, Trevor Nunn.
Wow.
You know, all of these, and all musical theatre is the best training for show business you can find, because at some point you're going to need that stamina, mentally and physically. And that's why they call those guys gypsies, because they live off their wits and they live out of a bag. You know, as I said, my first 2 jobs, you know, it was 3 months or 6 months in the Isle of Wight, and then, you know, 3 months in Hastings, then 3 months in Plymouth, then, you know, wherever I lay my boater is my home, you know, and that's how you live. It's not for, you know, it's not for the weak-hearted, you know, and everyone calls them the kids. It doesn't matter. You could be 40 years old in the chorus. You're still one of the kids. You know, it's true. Yeah, hey, give the kids a break. Do you mind, dear? I used to get all these, you know, these old lovies going, do you mind, dear? Who are you calling kids? You know, it'd be really rile some of the old dears, you know. So, you know, so by the time I got to television, you know, the first couple of jobs I did, I was bored out of my brains. I go, is this it? You know, it was like I wasn't working. It felt like I wasn't working. And so, you know, you had to sort of adjust to that. And then if you're going in from a musical to a TV, you know, where, you know, I was in a musical doing 43 numbers, eight people, 8 shows a week, you know, earning 400 quid a week. Yeah. And, you know, you're in your 30s. And that's the kind of scenario you're going to end up in. And so for me, it was just, you know, normal to be busted, basically, to have everything hurting, you know, and that was just normal procedure.
So
you know,
working with
didn't
TV.
Complain. Sorry?
So working with TV, have you found it easier when you've had a live audience involved then to get the atmosphere going for your performance than, say, when you're working on a movie set or a TV set with just the crew?
Not at all. No, because my body is used to being woken up by myself. Like, for instance, if you think that you can go into work at the theatre and in a musical and do 8 shows a week, 2 on a Wednesday, 2 on a Saturday, and each one of those 8 shows, you're going to feel like going on that stage. I can tell you now, you probably feel like going on that stage maybe 50% of the time. The only thing that gets you on there is you. And to rely on anything else to get a performance, you're going to lose in this game. Because if you're used to having an audience to perform in a television studio, what are you going to do when there ain't one there? And you're still filming in a television studio.
Yeah,
you see,
that's what
that means you're going to be working at half cock, you know, whereas my body's programmed. When I say go, it goes. You know, I don't care if I'm 1 man or 2 man or 3 man. You know, that was the training of musical theatre, is that you just have that switch and it goes click and you are at full tilt, because that's what the choreographers and the directors expect. Because people like Sammy Davis Jr. have been on the stage before you doing 3 hours playing the trumpet, the vibes, the this, the that, and the that. You're going to come on and say you're tired after 1 number. Look at that.
Yeah, that was what I was going to talk about next.
Look at that.
Your hit stage show, I've Got to Be Me.
That's it. That's a culmination of everything I've just said. You know, so the thing is, you know, that all of those guys I was talking to you about are guys who stood up on that stage alone and who were willing, you know, to put their proverbials on the line. And every time you go on that stage, you're there to be criticized. And to say I'm going to do a 1-man show, there's no one else to blame, is there? Who are they going to blame? The coat rack? You know,
and is that a lot of pressure on yourself the whole each night? Do you have feel that extra pressure that you have to perform because it's just you, or does it also motivate
not only is it just me, Sammy Davis is behind you to let the audience know who the greatest entertainer that ever lived was. And if you're going to come and stand in front of that guy and say that you're going to entertain the audience, you better have a show.
So
You better, because I met people in the foyer afterwards that had seen Sammy live. And I'm not talking about one or two, you know. I mean, these people had seen the real McCoy.
So what was it about Sammy Davis that made you want to perform this role or to be starring this show? Okay, I think Danny has frozen for a little bit. I'm still moving on my cameras. I hope you still hear me. Hopefully we'll get Danny back in a second. Hopefully everyone's enjoying themselves. Won't be a second. So while we're waiting for Danny to reconnect, remind you all of our YouTube page. If you'd like to click on the link and subscribe, that way you can keep for future reference other videos and some more live shows coming up. Hopefully Danny will be back in a minute. So yeah, we've got another live with Danny next Sunday, all about Strictly Speaking with Danny. And I'm just waiting to hear more from backstage to find out what's happening with Danny. So yeah, and Danny will be a guest at MCon next year in May, all permitting. Fingers crossed, no more the silly virus. I can see your comments if you want to comment anything below that you have any questions about anything. Hopefully we will get onto some more talk about things going forward. Mostly tonight is about Danny, his career, his career up to date, and we're going to progress in the next couple of weeks as well with that. There's so many references coming to Red Dwarf on here, and I get every single reference, and I show my geek pride here. Red Dwarf for the win, and I love all the comments about Maid Marian and Barrington, because that is the show that we grew up with. And what is Pancake Day without Danny John-Jules singing the Pancake song? So hopefully, if I can convince them all to get him back next year on Pancake Day, and we'll try and get a live version of that. Oh, and yep, Danny is just reconnecting his camera, so it won't be a second. And I won't hog his limelight for too much longer. And join me next year at MCon on stage. It'll be very good to see everyone. And we've got questions coming in about some of his other roles, Little Shop of Horrors and his movie career. So hopefully we'll be on track with that in a minute. Okay. Oh, and Danny is back. Almost.
Are we back?
Yeah, I was just telling everyone you were being a gentleman and letting me have some of the limelight for a while.
What is going on here? What's going on?
Can you hear this?
I can see you, but you're not moving. Okay.
Any better?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear us? Yeah, I can hear you. We can hear and see you.
Oh my days.
Coming in live and clear.
What's going on?
Can you see us?
This is crazy.
But at least everyone know this is definitely live at MCon, and we're here to make it live.
What is going on? Right. What is going on?
Is it better, Danny? Oh, and he's gone again. Well, hopefully we'll keep getting him back. Don't worry. Hopefully this will be continued. But in the meantime, you're going to get more of me waffling. Sorry, I apologise in advance. It does seem every time that I'm live on MCon, there seems to be technical difficulties. I'm not blaming myself or my cat who's staring at me, but shh. So yeah, trying to think what else to say for you guys. Yes, at MCon next year, the guests are quite varied guests coming through. One of them is Danny. We're looking onto other people as well. Follow our YouTube channel because we need more followers on that to help. Sorry, I was reading messages from production. So yeah, follow our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook pages, follow us online, and keep putting your questions down at the bottom. We're hoping to get some with Danny today if Danny comes back. Yep, we have thought about changing the bulb to red alert, but I'm at home. I've not got any bulbs. I've got barely a light source here. Keep the question.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me now?
What's going on now? I was like, I mean, it's so strange because I could see you.
I just wanted the attention. It was all you, and I was getting jealous. So that's what it was.
Well, you know what? They probably need a break. I've probably done their heads in. You know, well, they didn't expect it to go, you know, all GMT or GMB or whatever they call it. You know.
No. Well, we do this every now and again, so it looks like it's live. You know, so people actually believe the magic.
Yeah, but you know what they say? Keeping it real.
Always.
You know, keeping it real. The real thing is that, you know, if ITV and Channel 4, with all their technology, they drop out of interviews all the time.
Yeah.
So, you know, hey, welcome to showbiz.
I finally made it. So we were talking about so your one-man show with about Sammy Davis Jr. So
Sammy Davis Jr.
How did that come about? Oh, that is Sammy.
Look, that is an action man of me from the poster of my one-man show.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's an action man.
That is amazing.
A tap dancing action man. Look, and it is me. It's not like, you know, an action man painted black, with an afro wig. Yeah, this is actually my boat race. Look, he's even got a beard.
Wow.
And the shoes are exactly. This suit is exactly on my poster of my one-man show. It's exactly the same. He's even got the spats shoes on exactly the same.
Wow.
Yeah, look.
That is amazing.
Come to a store near you.
I'm surprised there isn't more action figures of you out there.
Sorry?
I'm surprised there isn't more action figures of you out there. The roles you've done.
I've got loads. I've got hundreds of. Well, I say hundreds. I've got loads of personal ones.
Yeah, but no
mainstream. People send me. You know, and look, come on.
That is amazing.
Mattel couldn't do better than that, mate. Look at that. Look at the likeness.
That is crazy.
Look at the likeness. Look at the likeness.
That's wild.
Look at the beard. No, look at the beard. That's crazy.
So was that a fan that made that for you, or where did that get produced?
Do you know what? It was a special effects man, a film and TV special effects man who made it. Just happened to be a fan.
Wow, that is lovely.
You know, you wait till you see the cast one. Wait till he's on stage in full flight. Wow. Yeah, this guy's a bit like talented, man. Yeah, seriously. Listen.
I don't doubt you.
Hold on.
I don't doubt you at all.
Wait there. Wait till you see this bad boy. This is another one he did of me. Right?
Wow.
I mean, come on, guys.
That is cool.
Look at this bad boy. Original, the pink cat, the original one.
That is beautiful.
Yeah?
That is lovely.
Right. This guy don't stop, man. But, you know, I've got many from different people. Have a look at this bad boy.
See, some of those qualities, they could be like professionally made shop bought ones. The quality is amazing.
Look at that.
That's crazy.
Look, he's got the face right. He's got the skin texture, everything.
Yeah.
All you have to do is really just look and be correct. Why do people get it so wrong?
Oh, because there's some dire ones out there. There really are.
The casting of people in some of the movies, some of these casting agents must be smoking crack. you know, the likenesses are just nowhere near it. And then there's some guy sitting in Scunthorpe, you know, in an attic, getting it perfectly right. People in show business, you know, getting paid 10 grand a day, you know, having you look like flipping, you know, Roland Gift.
But that's the thing. That's the fans. That's how much love and things the fans have for yourself and the medium is the fact that they want to put that love in. They want to put the time in. They just want to get it done.
Look at this. I mean,
that's beautiful.
Look at this.
Even the thermos
and
the lunchbox and everything.
Look, it's just on an ordinary piece of old wood. I mean, you can tell that this guy, you know, has not got the kind of financial backing that these toy companies have. Yet when the toy companies do these dolls, they don't look anything like the people. I don't get it. But anyway, thank God for Red Dwarf fans. They get it right.
They do. Well, they've been around long enough.
Well, look.
You've grown that passion.
Baby, 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 baby. Look at this.
It's got your stance down perfectly, everything, hasn't it?
Everything. Unbelievable. Yeah. But hold on. Hold on a second. The pièce de résistance. The bronze. The bronze.
Is that you though, or is that not a character?
That's me.
That's you. Yeah, not a character.
Remember my bandana? Look, I've got a bandana.
There we go. Yeah.
Do you remember the shots from the Red Dwarf clips when we were rehearsing and I was wearing the bandana?
Yeah.
That's the same bandana. The guy who made this, you know, Nottingham Ice Rink.
Yep.
You know, you got Torvill and Dean there, statue.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Gordon Brown. That's who did this.
Wow.
It's signed at the bottom as well. Hold on.
Crazy.
It's signed at the bottom. Somewhere here.
Somewhere there.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Oh, yeah. We can see it just on the camera. Wow.
Let me give you some trivia about this guy, Gordon Brown. He's got a place in Nottingham called the Longdale Craft Centre. And when Gordon Brown was Prime Minister... Oh, yes. There you go. There you go. There you go. See?
Wow. So that is talent. That is talent.
Right? Now, Gordon Brown is the sculpture, Longdale Craft Centre in Nottingham. So Gordon Brown, the Prime Minister, is, you know, touring around, shaking a load of sweaty hands around, you know, blah, 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 getting around. Anyway, he wants to go to the loo. Guess where they stopped? At the Longdale Craft Centre. So Gordon Brown let Gordon Brown use his toilet. That's a true story. That's a true story, and he's the guy that did this.
Wow.
So, you know, hold on, let me show you this one, this artist. This one, really left field one, really left field. Right? Because artists gravitate towards me as much as I gravitate towards artists. Look at that.
Wow.
And look, I mean, this is ridiculous.
Is that wood?
Huh?
Is that wood or is it?
No, it's a cast. She actually cast my face. And she cast your face and then sculpts your face onto the cast, if you see. So if you look, she even done, look, again, very particular about the beard. They all do my beard. They all do it. It's unbelievable. But have you noticed what's on the side?
So is that a goose?
What she's doing, she's putting the characters she puts on are meant to sort of depict your personality. Fish.
Yeah.
Look, fish. Yeah. And look, lizard from Death in Paradise.
Oh yeah.
Look, lizard.
It's beautiful.
From Death in Paradise. Fish on one side, Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
Lizard on the other side, Death in Paradise. Yeah. Isn't that weird? And she, you know, she's done quite a few people. She's done Craig Charles as well, this lady.
Yeah.
She's done Craig. I've seen Craig's one and I've seen Benjamin Zephaniah's one.
Wow.
Well, Benjamin Zephaniah's stories, his poet, one of his poetries.
Hmm.
You know, he's got a classic one called Danny the Cat. Did you know that?
I didn't. It's not something that I'm aware of.
Benjamin Zephaniah, one of his poems is called Danny the Cat. Now, I've met him, and I didn't ask him. I didn't ask him if it had anything to do with me, because that would just be a little bit megalomaniac. He said, "What the f are you asking me that for? You know, you think you're the only Danny in the damn world?"
I know. He's probably going to get a lot of tweets and messages after this conversation asking him about that now.
I know.
Everyone else go asking for you.
Well, you can go. I mean, you can listen to it. It's online and everything. So you've got that. And look, just in case anyone forgets, Comedy Gold. Comedy Gold.
That is brilliant.
Yeah. So, I mean, what the... Look, and this, should I show you the smallest one I had done by this little girl? This is the smallest one I've ever had.
Oh.
A young girl made that. Look at the size of it.
It is adorable.
You know what it is, isn't it? The Cat in the Hat.
That is beautiful. That is, and the best thing about this, all the fans, you can see that you're actually keeping them as well, because they put so much effort into these pieces of work.
It's so crazy.
You never know if people are going to keep them or not, and it is a lovely thing that you've got these for them still.
You know what? It's
that's
crazy.
The beauty of fans.
You know what? And people start talking about them like there's something wrong with them. They never buy you presents. The ones that think they're all...
Oh, Danny's frozen again. I'm just making sure he's coming back. But what a collection that Danny has. That stuff is amazing, isn't it? If you can see my little, there's my little pop of me. So that's as close as I can get to being as cool as Danny with his collection. But yeah, it just shows you the power of fan base. It's amazing that people put their amount of money and time into making things for these guests and showing their love for them. Just waiting to hear back about when Danny will be back online. I was hoping the bronze statue didn't fall on him. But yeah, hopefully so good so far. Okay, so once he gets back, we're going to try and move forward with extra bits of his career. But please do keep putting down your comments. He is seeing them. We are showing up. Hopefully, I'll start reading some out as well soon. Don't want to interrupt Danny too much, but I still want to get some your names read out for you. So yeah, hopefully everything's going okay so far, and everyone's okay and happy and smiling. Yeah. So the other areas we're going to cover hopefully will be his Sammy Davis Jr. role and one-man show that he did, and then we're moving on to his roles with in the movie industry with David Bowie, and best of all, he worked with Kermit the Frog in the Muppets movie, and who doesn't love the Muppets? So hopefully we get some more information about that. But yeah, I'm hearing he's coming back soon. He's just trying to re-establish the connection. So fingers crossed, won't be too long, and I can stop rambling. But anyone who knows me, I never stop rambling. So yeah.
Hold on, yeah, guys, I'm coming. I think I'm getting you. I've just had to go and check everything just to make sure that my internet's on. And yeah, it's on, baby. It's on. I don't know what's going on here.
I think you were just locking the doors because everyone saw your great collection and you just wanted to make sure that no one knew where to come and get them. Or he just drops out of links when I make really, really bad jokes, which, to be fair, is what most people try and do. Okay, he was just trying to get him reconnected again.
Digger.
Oh, and he's back.
Yeah, look, yep. See? You know what? Hold on a second, matey.
It's because we want to see around your house. we've seen the one room now. We want to like Lloyd Grossman and see who threw the keyhole.
Well, I tell you what, mate. Yeah, I'm just gonna go and get. I've got one of those. I've got one of those booster things. You see. Hey, listen. This is what they want. They want to see it real. You know.
Yeah.
But you know, this is the first time. The next time I'll have it all sussed. And get the routers in the right place and the boosters and everything's got to be boosted. Why is that? They've just laid Virgin outside my house, which is quite interesting, really, because I've always wanted to lay a Virgin outside my house.
So you beat me to that joke as well. I was about to say similar.
Yeah. But you know, it's quite funny, isn't it? That what you've been trying to do all your life, someone comes along and gets it done in half a day. Right. So it sounds like I've just brought the router in. Of course, now I don't need it.
Where
were we?
We were going to move on to your movie career. And start off when you. Well, I always love online seeing people who see you pop up in the background of a movie they don't expect you to see you in. So Little Shop of Horrors, The Muppets, and just what about something? Tell us some of your time on those sets, and talk about Labyrinth, which is a huge fan favorite.
Labyrinth was pretty much Charles Hawkins. I have to thank him for that, because Charles Hawkins was on Labyrinth. You know, you got to remember, this is 1985. So, you know, he hadn't even met the Red Dwarf crew yet. Anyway, so he was choreographing David Bowie, and in, you know, the what was originally called the Wild Things. The Fire Gang were originally called the Wild Things, and a copyright problem forced them to change the name of the characters, and in turn have to change the lyrics of the song, because the song that I had was different lyrics originally, and which is pretty much, if you and that's, I'm going to show you that in a minute as well, the actual demo cassette of that song. I have it. I have the demo tape of that song.
And is that Bowie singing on that as well?
No, Bowie singing. Bowie sings all of it. This was before we got it on the gig. When he brought amazing. That song to Jim Henson, it was called The Wild Things.
Wow.
You know, it was Get Down with the Wild Things. You know, not invited. Get Down with the Fire Gang. You know, so you know, everything had to be changed. So, and that's pretty much what we went in to sing, because Charles Hawkins played one of the characters. Now,
yeah, it was Queeg on Red Dwarf, wasn't he?
That's right. So in the studio that day was a guy called Kevin Armstrong, who was his guitarist for when he started Tin Machine and various other. And I met him sometime later down Portobello Road, where he lived as well. And when we got talking, we realized that, hold on a minute, you was in the studio that day, because he told me he worked on Absolute Beginners. And so basically what happened was, I said, well, hold on, you worked on Absolute Beginners? And he said, yeah, that I was there in the studio when the demos were being done, because we were working on Absolute Beginners while Bowie was working on 2 films at the same time. And so I said, well, I've got a photograph of you then, because I took a photograph of everyone in the studio, and there he was sitting on the floor, you know, in the studio. He was there that day. Wow. And that's where I recorded the Tongue Tied single, at his studio, at Kevin Armstrong's studio. And if you listen to the B-side of Tongue Tied, it's me singing the theme tune, and Kevin Armstrong played every instrument on that track and produced it. And on Tongue Tied, Don E played every instrument on that track and produced it. And they all lived in Ladbroke Grove. and I'd met them all before in different guises. So yes, again, when I got onto Labyrinth, you know, and I walked into the studio, of course, you know, my palms were sweating, you know, as soon as I entered St. John's Wood, never mind got to the Abbey Road Studios, you know, my palms were sweating that I was going to go and meet this legend, you know.
There's no one bigger, is there, really?
There's no one bigger. And to be honest with you, there's no one nicer. You know, he speaks up for everybody. I mean, you know, and I've seen it, but he didn't have to impress me on that level. I was already impressed with him on every level, not artistically, but humanitarianly, all of that stuff. You know, he was already a done deal. And then the first words he said to me made me even respect him even more, because it was all about you, not him. And he said, the first thing he said to me was, you know, hi, I'm, you know, David. He goes, so what's happening on the streets? That's the first thing he said to me. What's happening on the streets? Not, do you want to see the song? Not, you know, do you know, it was more like, have a beer. What's happening on the street?
So that's a good man. Yeah, so
well,
that's
you
how
know,
it should be, though. A good man who's earned his career,
you know what it
and
is?
wants to be around people.
People that are comfortable in their art are comfortable in their skin. And he exudes, you know, exudes that. It's this, you know, and mate, believe me, you'll never forget being in that room. You will never forget being in that room, you know.
Got a comment from Topping. He now has to explain to his children what a cassette.
A cassette is exactly. Hey, do you know what? I've always been a retro kind of guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, who doesn't know that by now will never know. I mean, I can't look any more retro than this, you know. But again, you know, the thing is, that looks all very good, right? But I can tell you now, and I kid you not, and don't think because he's a nice guy that you're going to be going in there, sitting around scratching your nuts, right? Because it's all work. And you know, and he's like Charles Hawkins, right? He's on a train. We ain't stopping at stations. If you want to get on, you jump on. You know, and that's how he works. And you know, your palms are sweating because he's going to give you a harmony. And David Bowie harmonies are not your normal harmonies. You know, they're kind of a bit, you know, left field. And so, you know, you don't want to be the one that's behind. So, and you know, you're cracking on. You know, the last thing you want to be in the studio and be the one jackass that David Bowie's every time you get on goes, oh God. You know, and that wasn't going to be me, baby. That was not going to be me. You know, so that experience, you know, there I am. I'm not only am I recording at Abbey Road Studios, I'm with David Bowie being directed by Jim Henson. I've got Eric Idle sitting in the corner looking on. I've got Zowie behind there looking on. Zowie now, you know, good friends with Robert Llewellyn. Duncan, director of the film Moon.
Amazing film.
There he is sitting there, you know, little kid. And then, you know, then there you are watching his film. It's crazy.
We just got a comment from Jan Kulinski. They've just turned off Labyrinth to talk to you about to watch you tonight.
Hey,
so all fate has to be.
It has to be. So yeah, and then Little Shop of Horrors.
Amazing film, one of my favourite musicals.
Little Shop of Horrors was again. Little Shop of Horrors. I'd always had a kind of link to it anyway. Right, you know. Hold on, freeze that picture. Can you see the guy on the end? This little guy.
Yeah.
Guess whose dad that is?
No.
Do you remember Snacky from Red Dwarf?
Yes.
Snacky, the snack machine.
Yeah.
That's his dad.
Wow.
And Rick Moranis, I've never, well, you know, we met there, but, you know, I was surprised to see him following me on Twitter. I was like, what? Rick Moranis?
He is a legend.
He's a legend. And I'm like, and then there's old Swaby in the middle there, another guy I know. God's so crazy, that film. But listen, did you know that the three little girls?
The three singers, yeah.
Right, before it was a movie, obviously it was a stage show. Now the London production was, I knew all the three girls who played those parts in the London production. One was a girl called Dawn Hope, who I told you that I was doing that show. She was in Time with Cliff Richard as well with me, and she was also in a show I did called Soul Train at the Victoria Palace Theatre with Sheila Ferguson. And the other one was Chesway Powell, who took over from P.P. Arnold in Starlight Express. Just so when I left, Chesway went into Starlight Express. And the third was a girl called Nicola Blackman, who I did Destry Rides Again at the Donmar Warehouse in 1985. So I knew all the three girls in the Little Shop show on Broadway, in the West End. But one of the puppeteers, the guy who puppeteered the plant on stage, was an associate of Chris Barry, who did Spitting Image, Anthony, who did Spitting Image with Chris Barry. And the voice of the plant is usually played by, usually a huge black guy, Originally, the guy who played him on Broadway originally was in, do you remember in Trading Places when Eddie Murphy gets put taken off to jail?
Mm-hmm.
And he's in the jail, and there's two tough guys there, and he's talking how many cops he beat up. And he said, hey man, I saw you when they brought you in here. You was crying like a pussy. He said, and he goes to him and his mate that kept going, yeah. That's where I got the for the rap. You remember the rap? Yeah. That's where I got it from. And the guy who used to say, yeah, was the first guy who played the plant on stage on Broadway in Little Shop of Horrors. And then in the movie, it was Levi Stubbs of the Four Tops.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Guess who played it on stage in London?
No.
Remember that crazy voice in Cassandra in Red Dwarf? Gary Martin.
Yeah.
He was the voice of the plant in London. And I was surprised because what happened, as I said to you, this was before I shared a dressing room with Gary for a year in Time. So what happened was I was watching Little Shop, watching all these people I knew go, oh my God, look, there's so-and-so, there's so-and-so, there's so-and-so. And then at the end, when they take the bow, obviously you don't see the plant because it's a voiceover. A white guy walked on. Gary Martin, that was him. He didn't doing the voice of the plant.
Wow.
Feed me. Gary Martin. And I was the one that got him on Red Dwarf. They were talking about a voice for this character who had to do multiple voices. And I said, there's only one guy for that part, and that's Gary Martin. And of course, Doug and them agreed because they hired him straight away. That crazy voice that he does like 15 voices in that show. Wow. But again, what a training for the business, that's it,
Yeah, all your stories seem to have around the same kind of theme, is that it's you learn from doing, you learn from watching people and experiencing things, which seems to be a good lesson for people to learn.
And so if you look at it, all the people that I have mentioned, obviously are the good ones because they're constantly working.
Yeah.
And, you see them there. And as I said, Gary Martin, as I said, is, from seeing him on stage in Little Shop, then sharing a dressing room, in 87, and then, going on, how many years later, he's on Red Dwarf, and you find that those are the people you watch, they're going to still be there. They won't have had to leave the business and work in Costa because, shit didn't happen. Excuse me. No. Can I swear? Is that swearing?
I don't know anymore these days.
No. But anyway, that is basically, what it boils down to as far as it's who you want to watch. It's who you think, has got it. And who do you want to be like? And I saw so many people I wanted to be like, and so many talented people, and I would just follow them around, and like, you know, it's pretty much what Sammy Davis Jr. did. He just followed everybody and mimicked everything. He could just mimic stuff, and you know, and he learned from all the people that he was traveling, you know, from the age of 3, traveling around the industry, you know. And you know, mate, you got to remember that you know, a lot of people think that, you know, Frank Sinatra came along and sort of picked up Sammy by the scruff of the neck and dragged him through show business, which couldn't be further from the truth. When Sammy Davis Jr. met Frank Sinatra, it was Frank Sinatra that came over and introduced himself, not the other way around. And number 2, they were sharing the bill. It wasn't like, you know, they were on the same show. You know, he was the singer in the band, and Sammy was doing an act. You know, so that's where they met. Sammy was only 15 when he met Frank Sinatra, and Frank Sinatra was really quite an angry guy as well, because you know, his father, you know, didn't want him to go into show business and chucked him out. You know, and at the age of 17, he went off to New York, and that's, you know, that was it. You know, New York, it's a wonderful town. The Bronx is up and the Battery's down. The people riding the hole in the ground. New York, New York. You know, all the New York songs. I sing both of those songs in my one-man show. I sing New York when I'm telling the story of how, you know, how Frank got to New York. I sing both of those songs. I sing New York and New York. They're both called New York.
So, is there a favourite song you have of Sammy Davis Jr. that you like to perform?
Oh man,
one that really hits with you.
There's so many. There's so many. Well, the story of Birth of the Blues, for instance, right? Birth of the Blues was a song, you know, that even Judy Garland sang. And Sammy was doing, one day he was walking backstage of a theatre that he was playing at, and one of the band members, it was a young white kid playing his clarinet. And Sammy was like, "Ooh, wow, man, ooh, you know, there's nothing like the sound of a clarinet wailing through a theatre." Yeah. And he went up to him and said, "Man, you know," well, he goes, do you do any arrangements? You know, and he said, "Yeah." And he goes, I want to do a version of Birth of the Blues. And he goes, "I get it. I get you." Anyway, 2 days later, the kid comes back with this arrangement of Birth of the Blues. And Sammy hears it and hires him as his conductor. You know, and that, you know, and everybody was saying to him, "Man, this is segregation. We can't, you know, travel around with a white guy." And his dad was going, "Man, you can't hire him. We don't want him, man. You're kidding me. You're going to cause us a load of trouble. Walking around with white people, man, and say, come on, are you crazy?" And Sammy said, "No, man, I'm having him." You know? So they're going, "No, man, our career's over. We're never going to get a hotel." You know? Anyway, he turned out many years later to win an Emmy for the Hawaii Five-0 theme tune. Well, that's the guy.
Wow.
Morty Stevens. And Sammy discovered him and dragged him to his show, you know. And you know, so when you think, when he heard Birth of the Blues, his dad and his uncle went crazy. They said, "You cannot sing that in the middle of the show. Everything else is dead afterwards." You know, this kid had written this master song that nothing could go next to because it was just huge. You know, well, he didn't write it, he arranged it, you know. And so, you know, it just starts with just, you know, as soon as the song starts, you think, do I get my coat or buy a drink? You know?
Yeah.
And then he comes in with that little arpeggio, and then he goes, "Oh, They say my people long ago were looking for a different tune. Bing! One that they could croon. Bing! As only they can. And then they only had the rhythm, so they started swaying to and fro. They didn't know just what to use, but this is how the blues really began. This is the way the blues began. Da dee da dee da 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 da. They heard the breeze through the trees, singing with melodies, and they claim that why do down, that's the start of the blues. It's a time I can fight to drown. Mate, listen, you're wet after the first verse. You know, there ain't a dry seat in the theatre. Wow. And, you know, you think, man, this kid. And that's the difference. People can spot talent, but unfortunately, the suits can't.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. It took a Sammy Davis to find him, whereas, you know, any conductor or musician or, you know, booker should have known that. Surely he didn't just get that talent from nowhere. He was, obviously, what was he sitting in backstage for? You know, somebody should have realized that, hey, man, this guy needs to be doing stuff out there. And an Emmy later, you know, for one of the most recognizable, probably TV themes of all time, you know, sitting backstage twiddling his thumbs because no one can recognize the talent. But talent recognizes talent. That's why talent should be in the office.
Yeah, it's all about the money. I mean? It's about the passion.
Because if talent was in the office, that guy would have been discovered a long time ago, and not by another actor. And you know, actors shouldn't be discovered by actors, you know, or musicians, you know, shouldn't be discovered by actors or performers. You know, I mean, that's the job of the suits.
And talking of similar things, is this why you have your own production company? You got KMBA Productions. How did that come about? And was that kind of fed into this? The fact that talent recognizes talent and supports talent.
Exactly. Well, I've been, you know, mate, you know, the people that recognized me are people that I was told, oh, you'll never get a job. I mean, when I auditioned for the Lena Zavaroni series, before I got into the building, everybody was telling me about the producer being this crazy ogre, you know, who, you know, he would call people down the corridor of the BBC and they'd piss themselves. You know, Stuart Morris, you know, these guys were the big light entertainment producers of the day. You know, they were the ones doing the, you know, the Britain's Got Talent size shows, the Strictly stuff. I mean, these guys, you know, when people still walked around with briefcases and suits and ties, you know, and I was looking at this guy behind the table. You know, he was about, at them days, I think he was probably between 25 and 30 stone, you know, and he had the meanest look on his face. And I was, in my mind, I was saying, there's no way I'm getting this job. You go, this is the 70s. I'm like looking around the room thinking, talk about turd in a punch bowl, you know. I mean, they didn't even have people working in the canteen in those days, man. You know, and I'm thinking, I'm looking at this guy looked like he just killed his whole family. And I'm thinking, there's no way I'm getting this job. Mate, when he picked me, I literally nearly wet myself. I was like so in disbelief. I'm going to go and dance on telly with Lena Zavaroni at the BBC. I mean, it was just a mad fantasy that I thought could never have happened. And, you know, Stuart Morris, there was nothing nicer than one day, do you remember, you know, going to the BBC rehearsal rooms in North Acton, the famed rehearsal rooms that we all just heard about on the documentary. And, you know, seeing Stuart Morris rolling out of his Porsche, you know, with his briefcase, sort of, you know, rolling out the door like that, going, oh, yeah, I'm trying to get out the Porsche, you know. And I walked in the building with him, and there he was. But I was going in to play a part in a sitcom now. But, you know, him and I know that, you know, before I was Doug's boy and Rob's, I was his boy. You see? And he you know, and I would say, boy, you know, Stuart Morris, man, boy, I can't believe it. I mean, all these guys, you know, who went, they did stuff that I would imagine normal people wouldn't have, you know. And you know, it's like Peter Risdale Scott reading that script, you know, of Red Dwarf, and absolutely getting the cat character sitting on a train reading a script, not seeing Danny John-Jules in front of him, not seeing the pink suits, not seeing none of that, just looking at this script and saying, and as he said in the documentary, it was when that character appeared that he thought, like, what the hell is this, you know, kind of, and it needed a maverick like Peter to get a show like Red Dwarf done, because we'd been to the suits, hadn't we? And as I said, Peter Risdale Scott could notice talent, but unfortunately Gareth Quinlan couldn't. But Gareth Quinlan had the bigger job and the more powerful position, and there you have it. We had to go to the little guy up north. We were banished up north to try and get it commissioned, you know. Oh, send them up north. Yeah, those northerners, give them, you know. The north-south divide was in full flow in those days, by the way. You know, this is Maggie time. You know, so the north-south divide was very, very evident. And, you know, so for me, Manchester will always be close to my heart, man. Because I got played too after doing a play in Manchester as well.
And that was a great film.
I was doing a play at the Contact Theatre in Manchester. And you know what? I asked you know, what made you sort of bring us in, kind of thing, you know, because what happened was I didn't realize until afterwards that one of the guys in the play, and you know, it's funny, isn't it? I did this play in Manchester with a guy called Barclay, Anthony Barclay. So and I never saw him again until I went to Robert Llewellyn's wedding, where we were both singing.
Wow.
Yeah, Anthony sang a number because he was also a singer, but this was a straight play. We weren't singing in the show. I didn't even know he was a singer. And his missus was in, what's that pony show? Smack the Pony?
Smack the Pony.
Yeah, his wife was in that. And the next time I saw him was at Robert Llewellyn's wedding. I can't remember what he sang, but I sang Family from Dreamgirls. It's more than you, it is more than me. Whatever dreams we have, they're for the family. This dream is for all of us. This one can be real, and you can't stop us now because of how you feel. It's more than you, it is more than me. Whatever dreams we have, they're for the family. You're not alone anymore, now there are others there, and that dream's big enough for all of us to share. So don't think you're not going anywhere. You're staying and taking your share, and if you get afraid again, I'll be there. And on and on. We are a family, like a giant tree, branching out toward the sky. We are a family. We are so much more than just you and I. We are a family, like a giant tree, growing stronger, growing wiser, and we are growing free. we need you, all of that, you know. Not bad for a Sunday afternoon with no warm up. Hey,
So
but, as I said, you got to be ready to switch it on all the time.
So one of the things we was going to talk about with your production company was about racial diversity behind the scenes and on camera, because you've had quite a big impact in regards to that. Like Red Dwarf, for example,
Yeah,
it's quite unheard of. Two out of the 4 main cast are black,
yeah,
and it's always presented in such a way that it's never been an issue. It's never been even raised that I've ever seen as it being a negative or anything that you usually get on other shows.
no,
So I just wondered how you felt about all that, and how your production company can help with all that.
yeah. But what's it got to do with art? That's what you got to ask the suits. What's it got to do with the art? I mean,
I agree.
If you bend the rules and try to make the art what it isn't, then that's what you get, because they're not being true to the game. Because art is for everybody. If you come into the game and you don't play that game, then you are the person that is screwing it up. Because if you want to go and bottle art and make it reality TV, that's your business. But don't drag us artists along with it, because that's your idea of the art. It's not the art itself, because art is about truth. It doesn't matter whether you're an abstract artist, whether you are a classical composer, whatever. If you've got no truth in your heart, you will have no truth in your art. And you can see by the crap that we produce in this country.
There's a lot of that.
I'm sorry, but if any producers out there want to argue with me, they can come and put it on the table and show me what the greatness that we're supposed to be following then. But I'm going to leave it there, because people will say that I'm going to... But it's very simple, and everybody knows it's true what I've just said. So there's no point in going along trying to pretend that it's anything else. Yeah. Don't bring your personal isms into show business and into the arts. Simple. And then you won't have a problem. We will never have to talk about this problem again. And also, if you see anyone doing it, pull them up and tell them to get out.
Definitely.
And that's what's happening, because we've become far too comfortable with mediocrity. And that starts at the top and works its way down. By the time you get to the program, that's what you get, isn't it? Because, as you know, excrement falls downwards, doesn't go up, it goes down. Definitely. I don't care what country you're in, what game you're in. If you chat that, then that's where everything goes down. Everyone goes down, because it's untrue. You know, you have to, and then they turn around and tell you, "Can you get some more truth out of that performance?" And I go, "Can you get some in your life?" You know what I mean? It's true. The contradictions are ridiculous. But anyway, we was having such a nice conversation.
Yeah,
before you reminded me of the dickheads that we got to deal with.
I know, but if we never let people forget about the dickheads, then they'll keep winning.
You know what? Excuses are exactly that. Excuses are exactly that, because that's not the real thing, is it? I mean, you go and mate, you know, 90% of those people couldn't have a conversation with Sammy Davis Jr., could they? What would he talk about? What would they talk about?
Oh, I know.
Oh, Sammy, lovely, wonderful. Just don't have anywhere to put you, son. We don't really know what to do with you. I mean, yeah, lovely, best entertainer in the world and all that, lovely, but what do we do with you, Sam?
Yeah.
Where are we going to put you? What great film, but I can't show it. Why? I don't know. See, it's all this. It's rubbish.
Yeah.
It's rubbish.
Talent should be talent. It doesn't matter anything else. If that's what talent, that's the talent.
You know what? The person in this country who everybody literally gave artistic fellatio to all of their career was Sir Bruce Forsyth. Sir Bruce Forsyth said the best experience in his life was working with Sammy Davis Jr., who was the best entertainer who ever lived. That was from Mr. Entertainment. So who am I to go against Bruce Forsyth?
No, definitely
not. Who is anybody in show business to go against Bruce Forsyth? Yeah, because they were the ones that were blowing smoke up his derriere. And if he tells you something, then believe him.
Yeah, yeah.
And I believed Bruce, you know. So I met Bruce in 1982 at the opening night of Barnum at the London Palladium, because there was a guy called Tony Kemp in it, and his wife was Bruce's assistant. He made my mum laugh and she spat wine over him. True story.
I bet he loved that.
You didn't. It was all over his nice suit.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because I was, you know, can you imagine if he was still, can you imagine if he was still in Strictly when I did it?
Oh.
You know,
that would have been a number. Just walk up to him and accidentally try and pretend it over him.
Exactly. Well, I'd be hoping he didn't remember me, actually.
Yeah, he'll be marking you down behind the scenes.
You know, I think that was more Norman Wisdom than Bruce, actually.
Very similar, but yeah.
I worked with Norman Wisdom. I worked with Norman Wisdom in 1979, I think it was. Did you know that me and Norman Wisdom were born in the same hospital?
Wow.
He lived in Fernhead Road, which is about a 5-minute walk that way. He was as poor as dirt. He had no shoes when he went to school. He went to school in bare feet. And at the age of 14, his dad threw him out the house. And then he walked how many miles and joined the army. Then he joined the boxing corps. Then he joined the entertainment corps. And then I was in the Isle of Man doing the parade lap on the Isle of Man TT on my motorbike. And we were walking through the town. And I knew that Norman Wisdom lived in the Isle of Man and was like the king of the island. And, you know, there's that great photo of him outside his big mansion with his 2 Rolls Royces and his BMW motorbike, you know, which he loved. He was also a motorbiker, you see. That's why he loved the Isle of Man. People didn't get it. What's he doing now? He loves motorcycling. See, so when I was over there doing the parade lap at the Isle of Man TT on my pink bike, like you do. And I was just walking down the street one day and I thought, I really want to go loo. So I walked into this hotel. You know, when I walked out, I went, hold on, what's that? Norman Wisdom's statue sitting on a bench outside the hotel. I never saw it on the way in.
Wow.
But, you know, and there he was, you know. Yeah, Mr. Hey, my name's Lee Evans.
That is, yeah.
I wanted to say that.
And now no one's going to get that image out of their head now.
Don't fit either. My suit doesn't fit me either. Mate, can you imagine one gag? It's like, man, I'd have a hernia. After one gag, I'd have a hernia. I mean, Norman Wisdom used to make me ill. You know, he never stopped. I mean, my goodness, slow down, brother. Whoa. You watch Norman Wisdom for 10 minutes, mate. If you watch Norman Wisdom for 10 minutes, he makes Lee Evans look sedated.
Yeah, I've seen some of the footage before.
Oh,
yeah.
my days. My days.
You don't get talent like that anymore.
Do you know, I nearly sang a Norman Wisdom song in my show because it was about fools, and Sammy's one of Sammy's greatest songs is you know, what kind of fool am I who never fell in love? It seems that I'm the only one that I have been thinking of. What kind of man is this? An empty shell, a lonely cell in which an empty heart must dwell. What kind of lips are these that lied with every kiss, that whispered empty words of love, that left me alone like this? Why can't I fall in love like any other man? And maybe then I'll know what kind of fool I am. Dee, 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 dee. And then Norman Wisdom had he had a song, and I wanted to join them together. That was the idea. Now, Norman Wisdom was doing a film, and he heard that the producer wanted a song for the film. So he went and wrote one and sent it in anonymously. And the producer liked it and took it on, but he didn't know it was Norman. And it was a song that went, don't laugh at me, 'cause I'm a fool. I know it's true, yes, I'm a fool. No one seems to care. I'd give the world to share my life with someone who really loves me. I see them all falling in love, but I, lucky star, shines up above. Someday maybe my star will shine on me. Don't laugh at me, 'cause I'm a fool. Norman Wisdom. That's where I learned all my stuff from. Yeah, because those guys. Oh, what have I done there? Okay. Oh, hold on. What have I done? Are you still there?
We are. We can still hear you.
Can you see me? Oh crap! What have I done? Oh. You know that one when you just touch the screen and you have no idea. Get out of it! I don't want to see you. Oh, what's happening? Oh, what's this? Why am I? Okay. Oh, there.
Press camera. Oh, there you are. There you are.
Yeah. All this is new to me, but hey, as I said, if you listen, look at the talent. A kid with no shoes, born in Harrow Road, born in the same hospital as Danny John-Jules, God bless him. You know, no formal training, writing hit songs in movies. Would they have let him do it? If he went into the producer and said, I want to write a song for the film, they would have gone, no, come on, get out of here, Norm. You know, because they don't see it. So he has to do it the same way Ronnie Barker had to send his scripts in, you know, anonymously, because they won't respect you other than, you know, the talent, hit your mark, shut up and do what you're told.
So did any of that inspire you to write when you wrote and direct the movie with your son, Bucky? Was that an inspiration for that?
But I'd always been doing my own stuff, even as I went along. It wasn't, you know, at the end of the day, if you look at the process of Red Dwarf, it's no different. You know, there were these guys. Yes, they were doing, you know, Spitting Image. Yes, they were writing for Jasper Carrot. Yes, they were doing this. Yes, they were doing that. But they wanted to do Red Dwarf, and they wanted to do their own thing, but nobody understood them, and the ones that did understand didn't want to do it. You know, so they had to go and, you know, grab Paul Jackson and say, you know, help us get this done. And Paul Jackson then had to go and search the entire UK for someone who would do it. And they found Peter Risdale Scott, who, as far as I'm concerned, should be running the whole industry then in that case. You know.
Well, it proved it worked. He's going 30 odd
but
years
later.
But
this was 32 years ago. 32 years ago. And, you know, yet we're still, you know, having the same conversations about why we're crap at everything. Yeah. And I mean that in the best possible taste. Isn't Craig Charles going to do his next show in a boat?
What was I saw? I saw something.
I saw something.
What it was.
Isn't he going to do a show in a boat? Now, I don't know what they're remaking. What is it? Titanic? Is he playing the anchor? You know, TV anchor. Instead of a TV anchor, he's going to play a ship's anchor. Or he could be. Are they remaking the Poseidon Adventure? Is he playing Shelley Winters?
Oh, that'd be different.
Are they bringing back Captain Butler?
Captain Pugwash.
Yeah, or Captain Butler.
I'm trying to think which one that is.
That was Craig's sitcom, wasn't it?
I never saw that one, so I don't know.
That's showbiz. as Craig would say. As Craig would say, that's showbiz. But apparently that's what I heard. Someone told me Craig's going into a show to row a boat.
Well, at least you can social distance.
I don't know. I mean, it could be true. Stranger things have happened, especially in show business.
Yep, I've seen.
Yeah. Oh, baby.
I don't think anything's off limits these days, is there?
Well, no. Off limits. There's nothing off limits. No, but as I said, I'm glad I can have these conversations now. I'm getting me freedom pass next month, and that means I'm free to say what the hell I want about who the hell I want. You see, okay. So but I've got better things to talk about. You understand? Other than the people that hold this industry back. That's basically what it boils down to. We're better than this. The Americans used to come here to use our people. Now, now we're the ones begging them for work. Yeah. There isn't an English actor I don't know whose whole MO is to go to Hollywood.
Which is a shame, it really is.
But, well, because it's an easier ride, I'm telling you. I know the people that are working out there. I mean, it's an easier ride, man. They're never coming back. The people that I know that have got their foot in that door, they are never coming back here as far as looking for work. They have no inkling, no intention of coming back here.
Which is a shame for our industry. It really is.
Mate, you know what they say, innit? If you don't diversify, mate, you're going to die. Yeah. And it's like now the whole industry has to diversify again. They've got to start diversifying again, because the non-diverse industry that was before lockdown is now going to change again anyway. So whatever results you were looking for before lockdown, forget it. There's a new regime, and there's going to be a new sheriff in town. And we'll soon see how much money they're going to put into the industry. As far as you're going to have two options, man. I don't think you can do both. You're going to have to have reality, or you're going to have to have art. One of the two. I don't think we're going to be able to have both.
And I'm hoping we get the art, not the reality.
Well, I would hope to get
so.
what the business. I would hope that they would go for what the business was designed for. It was designed to accommodate the art. Not it was accommodate art, not the F word.
And then and that'd be next weekend, next Sunday. We've got you back with us for talking, strictly talking with Danny John-Jules. So join us next week at 8:00.
That's right.
That conversation.
Well, that conversation is going to be interesting, because I'm just all ears on that conversation. You know what everyone else said. You know what the other side have said, because you read it. Yeah, you all read what they were saying, didn't you? And so, nobody ever asked me any questions about it, though. Nobody ever asked me, is it true? Nobody ever asked me. Nobody. Not one person said, what's the truth of the matter?
No. That's the problem with these days. All headlines.
Bring the people who were talking on. Get them to come on. Get Dan Wootton on here. Yeah, get Dan Wootton on here. Let him say what he was saying on Lorraine with me on the other side of the camera. Let them, all the people that wrote those articles, get them on there. Phone them up and ask them and invite them on and see what they say. I'm going to prove to you how cowardice and full of crap that they all are. Invite them on, right? And tell them to bring their sauces with them. HP, tomato ketchup, whatever sauce they want. Bring them with them, and then we'll see who's talking or who's strictly speaking. In fact, bring someone from production. I'm quite happy to have anyone. Anybody who wants to dispute what I say.
Bring it on,
No,
yeah.
no.
No,
To be
definitely.
honest with you, I promise you, I'm only going to speak about the good stuff, which will take me about 30 seconds.
Which is a shame. It is a shame, though. It is.
No, I'm joking. No,
I know, but
no, but you know what? Of course, you know, mate. There's been 1,000,001 people in that show. We've never heard any of the artists give their side of the story, unless you can think of one. Why is that?
no, it's all headline.
Yeah,
Gossip,
but why
gossip,
is that?
gossip.
Why doesn't nobody give their side of the story? I never could understand it. I've never seen so many people get slagged off in one show and just buckle down and not say nothing. And I know that 90% of what I read was absolute balderdash. I mean, I know that for a fact. There's nobody could tell me different. And I wonder why the people that they write about don't say, hey, man, what are you talking about? You know, but it's all fine because they're not part of my art. They're not part of it. They're not part of the art.
No.
So it doesn't really faze me because, you know, what an easy job. Just make up stuff about people and write it. You know, sorry, my thing's always been about talent, and that takes no talent.
No, and as you said before, prior to this, it kind of links back to what you're saying about Jimmy Tarbuck and Cliff Richards, that people drag people through the mud, but the people who know you.
It was those same people, those very same people that were talking that jive about him. And so when they come for me, mate, it doesn't surprise me in the least. I'm not fazed by them. I'm not fazed by them at all because I'm too busy thinking about what I'm going to do next to entertain people.
As long as you and your own know the truth, that's all that really matters to you.
Mate, listen.
It's your family and things.
Some guy, sitting in his little office, right, trying to think up stories. I mean, what a existence that is. And then going on television and repeating all this balderdash and, what a sad life. And sad are the people that read that garbage and absolutely force themselves to believe it. And then you say, why don't you just go and watch a musical instead of, gritting your teeth through these rubbish papers? Go out and go and see a show. Go and see some guy, put his heart and soul on the line and to entertain you instead of some talentless, wannabe who feels that they'll never be doing what you do, so they've got to slag you off. And so for me, those are the people that are ruining the industry. They've got nothing to add to it. And believe me, we don't need any more taken away from our industry because we're already naked.
Speaking of naked, reminds me that you're in the Full Monty, but we're not going to go into that now because it's a bit late in the evening for that. But,
well, you know what they say? Talk is cheap, brother. A lot of people out there talking a good show. A lot of people talking a good play. A lot of people talking a good, if you really believe in what you're doing, and believe me, I had more reason to do it than the rest of those guys. And I tell you why. The drive that we were doing was called Stronger Knowing More. That was what we did it for. And the fact is, mate, is that you are a 1 in 8 chance of getting prostate cancer. And your pal Danny is 1 in 4. Why? You see, nobody knows. But that was my reason for doing it, because it affects me directly. And I don't want my boy to be a 1 in 4 while his mates are a 1 in 8. So we've got to, try and make these, we've got to go and get people to go and get checked and find out why this discrepancy is in this thing. And what are we not doing? So it wasn't heroic. It was just necessity. I want my son to benefit from Prostate Cancer UK by maybe when my son is 21, that he'll be a 1 in 5, maybe. or 1 in 6 rather than the same 1 in 4 as his dad. You know,
Okay.
so a lot of these people do it. You know, they go on reality shows because there's no work, and that's what they accused me of in the press. They're accusing me of, oh, you know, they come on my social media. Are you getting paid for that? And you're rah, 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 rah. Yeah, but mate, so what? I mean, you don't, you know, you're not a problem. You're a 1 in 8, and you're getting on the 1 in 4 guy's back.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? That's what they're ignorant. Not only to why I was doing it, they're ignorant to what they know about it. And why would you slag someone off if you knew that he was a 1 in 4 and you was a 1 in 8? So the guy that's a 1 in 8 is slagging off the guy who's the 1 in 4. Yeah, because he's doing a show to bring highlight to his problem. But this guy gets on and starts slagging me off for it. You see what I mean? But you're a 1 in 8. You've got twice the chance of living, but that's not good enough for you. You need to slag me off on top of it. Do you see what I mean? So
Yeah.
I sit there, I don't respond to everything because I'd be telling you these stories all day. but just to put you straight as far as how these people see and what I see.
Yeah.
And that's why we'll never see eye to eye, me and those people.
No,
because they're not thinking before they're talking. You see, they're just talking. Whereas, you know, I can give you every reason why I did that, you know. And Errol McKellar, the guy whose garage I brought ITV to, that guy's garage. You know, they didn't know about Errol McKellar, you know, who sent 5,000 people in Hackney to go and get their prostate checked.
Wow.
And when he sent those people out, there was the first person he sent to get their prostate checked had prostate cancer.
So yes, even 1 out of 500, it was definitely worth it. Just that one person. That's how amazing it needs to be. It needs to be awareness.
Also he also went out of the people that he sent to get people checked. 45 of the people he sent had prostate cancer, and 2/3 were black, and 2 died. One was 35, one was 39, and yet they tell you to go and get checked at 55. Anybody who's listening to that, you better recheck it and go. You when you start getting into your late 30s, go and get your prostate checked.
Okay, and on that lovely note, we're running out of time.
It's a very humanitarian note, no matter what.
It is a very, very, very important note.
Very important.
We're going to do a couple of quick fire questions from the audience.
Absolutely.
And you've got your task is to answer them in 10 words or less.
Okay, I'll try for 3, which is impossible for me.
Okay, so the first one is: would you ever consider doing a cat mini-series?
Man, do you know what? Who told you to ask that question?
Ian Carter on scene.
Who?
A gentleman called Ian Carter.
Oh, Ian, I can see you, mate. Yeah, Ian, would I do a cat mini-series? Absolutely. Yeah. It'd be a bit like The Promised Land, wouldn't it?
With more cat.
With more cats. Now, I don't know anybody that would decline more of the P word in their life.
Very, very true. Okay, so that's a yes for you, Ian. We want a cat mini series. So if everyone wants to start writing it,
there you go, a cat mini series. Wow.
Okay, the next question we've got is: can you name your favourite Red Dwarf gag or scene that you were part of? That's from Tom Leggett.
Oh, my favourite scene. Oh my God! Why do they ask these questions? It's so hard to answer. 32 years of wild, abandoned comedy and laughter, and you're trying to get me to get a needle out of a haystack. I'm going to say the wrong one because I'll walk out the door and I know that I'm going to say, okay. I think I should answer the scene that I wasn't in because it's too biased to say the best scene I was in. But I think one of the most fantastic was the coincidence scene with Robert, me personally. And it's not the funniest scene. But anybody who knows, on the day we were filming that, we pretty much did it in one take.
Wow, that timing was amazing.
That mess up that you saw was the only one, but that was a second take. We pretty much nearly did that in one take. We looked at each other afterwards as if to say, did we just do that? I mean, I tell you, 5 minutes earlier, we weren't on that like that. I mean, and me and Robert looked at each other and went, mate, did we just do that? It was so bizarre. Again, you know, the task is set by Doug, and you are under pressure. And if we're not under pressure, it's not as funny.
Mm.
Yeah. But one of my favorite lines, and it's really, you know, it's really childish one, really. It's not what one of my lines that always made me laugh and is what, twice in one lifetime I'm turning into Hugh Hefner. I mean, that to me, I know it's really a childish one, but that really makes me laugh no matter when I hear it. It's the way Chris's enthusiasm that he's on his face when he says it. You know, it's too funny. I know it's trivial, but that to me is the one I always remember. And the other one is, you know, the one where Lister says that, you know, no way, you know, I know the things you like to talk to him, and no way. That's another one of my favourite lines.
There were some classics though. It's a great show.
Fantastic.
Okay, next thing we've got is, what was your favourite thing? Which series of Red Dwarf to date was the most fun to film / make? That was David Pritchett.
Oh, to be honest with you, from my own personal point of view, playing a character like the cat is fun enough. You don't really have barriers or say, you know, I enjoyed doing the cat more in series 1 than series 2 or series. I just enjoy doing the cat. And to be honest with you, the cat character for me is probably the definitive character I'll get to play on TV because of all my attributes of the career that I have. And, you know, it's about, you know, my mimicking, you know, my dancing, my singing, you know, all those abilities, I have to be on top form every time I'm in the scene as the cat. I have to, if I'm going to be screaming, I've got to be vocally warm. You can't just get on set and start screaming in the upper echelons of your vocal cords. Anyone will tell you that. Mm. You can't just go out there and do that. You got to warm up, and you got, you know, and I'm used to doing that. I would, even if I'm going to do a straight play, I would always do a full physical warm up. You know, so yeah. Wow, I just enjoy playing him in every series and in every show. You know, on set is never our problem. In show business, your problems start when you come off set, because then you've got to deal with numbskulls.
Yep. And what we got next?
No, but then they say that about us. Their trouble starts when they come on set. They've got to deal with numbskulls. You know.
So, there anyone?
That's showbiz.
So, Damien Ashworth asks, who would you love to have worked with, living or dead?
Wow. I would love. Oh my God. If it was, God, well, if it was musical theatre, or if it was, you know, it would be Sammy Davis Jr. If it was dancing, it would be Bob Fosse, because I would get all from Sammy anyway. I'd you know, the tap dancing. You know, people forget that Bob Fosse was a tap dancer as well. I mean, you know, when you're a dancer, you have to do it all. You don't just, I'm a classical dancer, pigeonhole. Oh, I'm a Morris dancer, pigeonhole. You know, and people say, why did you do? People that, you know, the press where you did strictly for the money. No, I didn't.
No, you can tell from just talking to you that your passion is dancing.
No, I didn't. No, but why didn't they see that? Because they're liars. They're liars. They're lying.
Well, no, you can clearly see that.
You've only got to look at my CV to know that them people are lying. My CV defends me more than I could ever do. To all of those people who were writing all that jive, they're lying to themselves more than they're lying to the public, because they already know, right? These people ain't born yesterday. They look at my CV, and if they say that I did strictly for the money, then they're lying. Because one, it ain't that much money anyway. It ain't that much money in the scheme of things. Are you kidding me?
Well, the amount of work you put into
Kim Kardashian gets $1 million to put a post on Instagram. How much money you say I got for Strictly? Anyway, there you go. That ain't no money, bro. That ain't no. In show business, what they pay you on Strictly ain't no money, because Kim Kardashian can get everybody's salary in Strictly on one post. Okay, everybody's salary, including the judges, the producers, everybody. Whatever they got that week, Kim Kardashian got for putting out an Instagram post. That's showbiz, So stop kidding yourselves out there and just wake up and smell the coffee. I just wish people would just be a bit more pragmatic in their outlook, really.
So we're just waiting for the next question to come up. In the meantime, my personal favourite for you was Maid Marian. I loved you as Barrington, and every year the pancake song is the first thing that pops up on timeline on Facebook every year. We have to have the pancake song.
Yeah, with the hashtag that's been going for how many years has that been going now?
Too long.
It's amazing. You got Danny John-Jules Day on 16th of September, and then you've got Pancake Day.
Yeah, it's classic. It's a whole generation, and that show was just amazing.
As I said, I tell everybody, Tony Robinson wrote the crap out of Maid Marian and Her Merry Men.
It was spot on writing every time.
And when he was explaining it, he said to me, he was trying to write something that didn't patronize the kids, and what it was, what my kids watched, which was Blackadder and Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
And he wrote it based on that, and you can see Blackadder in it, and you can see Red Dwarf in it. Yeah. And Tony made no secret about it. He made no secret about it, that those were the two shows that influenced him to write Maid Marian.
Yeah, and it still holds up today because it doesn't talk down to children. It is perfect humour for everyone.
And the BBC refused to repeat it, even though everybody has been clamouring for this repeat for centuries. It seems like they won't repeat. Man, I loved working on Maid Marian. I can't tell you how much fun I had working on that show, man. I laugh now just thinking of Mike Edmonds, little Mikey. Oh, God, I'm laughing now. I'm laughing at this guy now.
But how much mud did you actually put up with? Every episode, you just seem to be covered in mud, non-stop mud.
But do you know what? The funny thing about that is, we had this fire engine. You got to remember, we were filming this in the middle of summer. How the hell did they get mud, man? How the hell did we get mud in the middle of the summer? You know what they used to do? As in the morning, we'd get there and the fire engines would be flooding everywhere with the big hoses and flooding it down and then when it would dry up during the day, they'd come and flood it again. And people don't see that stuff. No. Think about it. How the hell did we get sloppy mud in the middle of summer? And people are getting bitten by mosquitoes because it's so hot, But again, oh man, I can't tell you how much fun I had making that show, man.
And it showed every episode. You could feel the love from it. You could see it.
I loved it. I just thought everything about it. David Bell, the director, he's so funny, and he was a real hippie. That was, I think that's what made it was a real hippie. And just a collection of characters. Not one person was. Every single person in that show was different. Well, Mark Billingham is a super successful author, best-selling book. He's got a list of best-selling books.
Wow.
Crime author. And they started writing with Tony on about, the two guards in the show used to write some of the stuff with Tony, you see.
Yeah.
Because obviously after a while, you know, you get a bit much in it. It's too much, you know. And so he had those guys write with him. And when Mark Billingham left the show and went out and became a multi best-selling crime author. And then his wife directed me in Death in Paradise.
Wow.
And brought me his latest book signed by Mark and some old photos of us filming Maid Marian. And I was like, my goodness, I hadn't seen half of this stuff. Isn't that great? No one ever writes stories like that, though, do they?
Okay, we've got one last question from this evening, and it's from Charlie Dean. And it is
Charlie Dean.
What was the one moment in your life that made you realise you were an adult? If it's happened yet.
When I was an adult.
Or when did you realise you were actually an adult?
Oh, my days. When I realised I was an adult. I think it was leaving school when, you know, basically no future. Anyone will tell you, you leave school without no qualifications, you got no future. And when I walked out of school the last day, I just made one promise to myself, and I can still remember it. I can remember walking out thinking, I don't care what they say. I'm never going to be a bum. And that was the only thing that kept me sane. You know, when you think, oh my God, they told you if you leave without knowing, you're going to be nobody, you know, and so you walk out the door with that in mind. And all those kids that walk out of the door of school, that's what's ringing in their ears. What's ringing in their ears is what those teachers tell them. And I think one, if I'm not mistaken, there was a folklore from our school. You know, Phil Daniels was at my school, and one of the teachers said that, you know, Daniels, you'll be nothing in life. Hey diddly dee.
But on that note, thank you very, very much, Danny, for this evening. Join us all next week for Strictly Speaking with Danny John-Jules. You can find out about video messages from Danny following the link on the line on the below going past your screens right now. I just want to thank Danny for his time this evening. Thank you for Lee for helping us host it, Eddie for his technical support, and join us next week, the same cat channel, same cat time.
And just a quick Lee Wallace, can you leave that tenner that you owe me under the mat?
Good night, everyone.